Europe did not collapse in a single moment of chaos. There was no single battle that destroyed everything, no sudden fall that marked the end. Instead, Europe unraveled slowly, year by year, village by village, family by family. For 30 years, violence spread across the continent like a disease, leaving entire regions empty and broken. By the time it ended, millions were dead, cities were in ruins, and the political order of Europe had been permanently transformed. This was the 30 Years' War, one of the most destructive conflicts in human history, and one of the least understood. To understand how it happened, we need to look at Europe before the war began. In the early 17th century, Europe was deeply unstable. For centuries, Christianity had provided unity across the continent. Religion was not just a belief system, it was the foundation of political authority, law, and social order. Kings ruled by divine approval. Loyalty to the ruler meant loyalty to the faith. But that unity was shattered in the 16th century by the Protestant Reformation. Martin Luther's challenge to the Catholic Church split Christianity into rival camps. Protestantism spread rapidly across northern and central Europe, while Catholic rulers fought to contain it. This was not just a religious disagreement. To rulers, religious difference meant political danger. A subject who rejected the official religion could also reject the ruler's authority. Faith became inseparable from loyalty. By the early 1600s, Europe was divided, suspicious, and armed. Nowhere was this tension more dangerous than inside the Holy Roman Empire. Despite its impressive name, the Holy Roman Empire was not a unified nation. It was a patchwork of more than 300 territories, duchies, kingdoms, bishoprics, and free cities, each ruled by its own local authority. The emperor, based in Vienna, claimed supreme authority over this vast collection of states, but in reality, his power was limited. Many local rulers wanted independence, many were Protestant, and many feared the emperor's attempts to restore Catholic dominance. Religion became the language of resistance. The ruling Habsburg dynasty believed that religious unity was essential to imperial stability. They pushed policies designed to strengthen Catholic control, especially in territories where Protestantism had taken root. One of those territories was Bohemia, located in modern-day Czechia. Bohemia had a strong Protestant population and a long tradition of religious independence. Its nobles were deeply suspicious of imperial interference. By 1618, tensions reached a breaking point. That breaking point came in Prague. Protestant nobles accused imperial Catholic officials of violating their religious rights. A meeting was called to resolve the dispute. The discussion quickly turned hostile. Voices were raised, accusations flew, tempers snapped. Then, in an act of open rebellion, the nobles seized two imperial officials and threw them out of a castle window. This event became known as the defenestration of Prague. Remarkably, the officials survived the fall. But politically, the damage was irreversible. The defenestration was a direct challenge to imperial authority. It signaled rebellion. Bohemian Protestants rejected the emperor and declared their own ruler. They believed other Protestant states would rally to their cause. Instead, they stood alone. In 1620, imperial forces marched into Bohemia and confronted the rebels at the Battle of White Mountain. The battle was short. The outcome was decisive. Catholic forces crushed the rebellion. Protestant leaders were executed in public. Their lands were seized. Their families were exiled. Bohemia was forcibly re-Catholicized. The emperor believed he had restored order, but the rest of Europe saw something else. They saw a warning. Protestant rulers across the empire realized that resistance meant destruction. If the emperor could crush Bohemia so completely, no Protestant state was safe. Fear spread faster than peace, and fear pulled new powers into the conflict. In 1625, Denmark entered the war. The Danish king claimed he was defending Protestant interests, but his ambitions went further. He wanted influence over northern Germany and control of key trade routes. The gamble failed. Imperial forces, led by experienced generals, defeated Danish armies and pushed deep into Protestant territories. One commander in particular became infamous. His name was Albrecht von Wallenstein. Wallenstein commanded massive mercenary armies. His soldiers were not paid regularly. Instead, they were allowed to supply themselves. That meant they lived off the land. Villages were looted, crops were burned, civilians were killed without hesitation. Armies did not distinguish between enemy territory and neutral land. Germany began to starve. By the late 1620s, famine was widespread. Fields were uncultivated, trade collapsed, disease followed hunger. The war was already devastating, and it was still only beginning. By the late 1620s, the devastation across Central Europe was impossible to ignore. Entire regions of the Holy Roman Empire were collapsing. Farms lay abandoned. Towns that once thrived on trade were silent. Roads were filled not with merchants, but with refugees fleeing hunger and violence. Yet, despite the suffering, the war did not slow down. Instead, it expanded, because fear spreads faster than peace. Protestant rulers across Europe watched Denmark's defeat with alarm. If Denmark, a powerful kingdom, could be crushed so easily, what chance did smaller states have? They needed a new protector. That protector arrived from the north. In 1630, Sweden entered the war. Sweden was not a desperate state fighting for survival. It was an ambitious rising power, led by one of the most innovative military commanders Europe had ever seen, King Gustavus Adolphus. Gustavus was not just a king, he was a strategist, a reformer, and a battlefield commander. He transformed warfare. His armies were smaller but faster. His soldiers were trained to fight in flexible formations. His artillery was lighter and more mobile. Where imperial armies moved slowly and relied on sheer size, Swedish forces moved with speed and precision. When Swedish troops landed in northern Germany, they were welcomed by Protestant communities desperate for relief. For the first time in years, imperial forces were pushed back. Victories followed. Cities were liberated. Supply routes were secured. Morale surged among Protestant states. It appeared that the balance of power had shifted. The turning point came in 1631 at the Battle of Breitenfeld. Imperial forces expected another easy victory. Instead, they were crushed. Swedish tactics shattered the imperial army. For the first time, the emperor's forces suffered a catastrophic defeat on open ground. Across Europe, rulers took notice. The Holy Roman Empire was no longer invincible. But victory came at a cost. The deeper Swedish armies pushed into Germany, the more difficult the war became. They too had to feed their soldiers, and like the imperial armies before them, they lived off the land. Liberation for some still meant destruction for others. In 1632, Swedish and imperial forces met again at the Battle of Lutzen. The battle was chaotic. Smoke covered the battlefield. Units became separated. Commanders lost control. In the confusion, King Gustavus Adolphus was killed. His death shocked Europe. The most capable leader of the Protestant cause was gone. Without Gustavus, Swedish momentum slowed. The war did not end, it stagnated. All sides were exhausted. All sides were losing men, and none could afford to stop. Then came the most unexpected shift of the entire conflict. A Catholic power entered the war against the Catholic emperor. That power was France. France was officially Catholic, but France was also surrounded by enemies. The Habsburg dynasty controlled Spain to the south and west, and the Holy Roman Empire to the east. If the Habsburgs won the war, France would be encircled and weakened permanently. Religion mattered less than survival. In 1635, France entered the war on the Protestant side. At that moment, the 30 Years' War stopped being a religious conflict. It became a pure struggle for power. The scale of the war expanded dramatically. Armies were enormous, costs were crushing, discipline collapsed. Soldiers were unpaid for months at a time. They survived by looting, extortion, and terror. Civilians suffered the most. Plague followed marching armies, spreading faster than any messenger. In some regions of Germany, 1 out of every 2 people died. This was not battlefield death. This was societal collapse. Entire communities vanished. Children were orphaned. Parents sold their possessions, then their homes, then their last scraps of food. Reports from the time described people eating grass, leather, and, in the most desperate cases, human flesh. Europe was tearing itself apart. By the early 1640s, no one was winning. France was bleeding money, Sweden was overstretched, the empire was exhausted. Yet none could withdraw without risking collapse. So they did something unprecedented. They began to negotiate. By 1643, Europe was exhausted, not just militarily, but economically, socially, and psychologically. After more than 2 decades of continuous war, no side could claim victory. Armies still marched, battles were still fought, but the outcome no longer mattered. What mattered was survival. Diplomats traveled for months carrying letters between cities. Messages were delayed, agreements collapsed and restarted. While talks dragged on, fighting continued. The treaties reshaped Europe. The Holy Roman Emperor lost much of his authority. German states gained the right to conduct their own foreign policy. They were no longer fully subordinate to imperial power. This marked the effective end of the Holy Roman Empire as a unified force. Religion was redefined. Catholicism, Lutheranism, and Calvinism were all officially recognized. Borders changed. France emerged stronger, gaining territory along the Rhine. Sweden gained lands in northern Germany, securing control over key trade routes. Spain, once dominant, began its slow decline. The balance of power shifted permanently. But the most important consequence was not territorial, it was political. The Peace of Westphalia introduced the idea of state sovereignty. Each state had the right to govern its own affairs, free from outside interference. This principle became the foundation of modern international relations. The world of empires ruled by religion and dynasties was fading. The world of nations was beginning. The human cost was catastrophic. An estimated 4 to 8 million people died. In some regions of Germany, populations were reduced by 40 to 60%. Entire generations were erased. Recovery took decades. Even after peace was signed, suffering continued. Soldiers returned home to nothing. Farms had to be rebuilt from ash. Cities had to be repopulated almost from scratch. Trauma lingered long after the cannons fell silent. The 30 Years' War left Europe changed forever. It proved that ideology could destroy entire civilizations. It proved that unlimited warfare led only to collapse. And it forced nations to choose stability over fanaticism. This war began with a handful of men throwing officials out of a window. It ended with the birth of the modern world. Like and subscribe now to Anything History if you enjoy clear and engaging history, because history isn't just about the past, it's about understanding how we got here.